Hi, dear audience. This year, Pingle is hosting a Mazu sacrificial ceremony on May 1st, the Labor Day. Now, this ceremony will officially kicks off in Pingle. And this festival will have many parts: intangible cultural heritage celebration, performances, trade and economic activities, and this year is joined by entrepreneurs, travel agencies, tourists. Thousands of tourists are gathered here to pray for peace, prosperity, and the safety of our nation. So where we are right now is the Pingle County of Guangxi Province. It is in the northeast of the Guangxi Province, and it has about a history of 1,800 years. And in this region, there are 4 Mazu temples. It's where Mazu culture is most prevalent in the whole province, and also a central of Mazu religion in China. Pingle has a very rich cultural heritage, and also agriculture, Mazu culture, Guanyue culture, Guoshanyao culture, and Chuanjia culture. And we also have many national forests, park, reserves, Chajiang tourist attraction, Xianjiang hot springs, Yueliang Mountain, ancient villages. It's a great place for traveling and photography. Pingle has many cultural heritages, including its local cuisines, tea, and to our knowledge, and this festival is mainly held around Yingmen Court, the Pingle Food Court, Binjiang Avenue, during which time we'll first have an opening ceremony, which we're going to watch now, and also Mazu sacrifice, drama performances, folk practices. The purpose is to promote Mazu culture and promote cultural exchanges. So, can you tell us more about the story of Mazu? So many folklore lores about Mazu. We all know that the sea is unpredictable and dangerous sometimes. Many sailors die on the sea, and there's a young woman named Ling Mo who is very good at swimming, and she volunteered herself to rescue sailors from shipwrecks. So she has saved thousands of fishers, and there's one night where there was a storm and there was no light, and she lit up her roof of her house in order to help the sailors navigate through the dangerous sea. And after she died, the villagers mourned for her, and they couldn't accept the fact that she passed away, and they rather believe that she turned into a goddess and will safeguard all sailors and fishermen after that. Now the ceremony will start soon. Now we found a special guest for today's ceremony, and he's the consultant, Mr. Zheng, from Mazu Cultural Association. And Mr. Zheng is gonna take us through the Mazu story. The Mazu sacrificial ceremony is the core part of the whole celebration. It's the most important part. It's also at the center of the attention of the world Mazu religion. Mazu is a very important part to Chinese traditional culture, and it started in Qing Dynasty and is also considered one of the 3 sacrifices in China, along with the Confucian sacrifice, and is now on the national level. The reason why Mazu sacrifice achieved such a high achievement and is considered an intangible cultural heritage is because Mazu sacrifice has always been done on a national level by the government. As we can see, the ceremony is about to start. Mr. Zheng, can you tell us more about the costumes and the meaning of them? Sure. Mazu sacrifice is different from other kinds of sacrifice. Among the world heritage, it has something very unique. First of all, so the music and the rituals, the drums, and the whole process actually take reference of Confucian ceremonies. And as you can see, the costumes are made of the color blue and gold. So blue represents the ocean. So you can see Mazu culture is about peace, safety, inclusiveness. And the arrangement of the ceremony is also quite different from other kinds of sacrifice. As President Xi once mentioned, is an important part of a tourist culture. It is an important part of the tourist resources. And on the National People's Congress and listed in the 15th Five-Year Plan, we have to highlight the Mazu culture. So it's now on the national strategic level. So with the efforts of mainland and Taiwan and the respective governments, Mazu culture is growing stronger than ever. And Taiwan and mainland share the same cultural roots, which is manifested in Mazu culture. So the 2 sides in the ceremony share lots in common. For example, the ceremony arrangements, the costumes, etc. And all around the world, people are learning from us. And so we have to showcase Mazu culture, etiquettes, ceremonies. Right now, you can see Mazu practices in 45 countries, and there are 20,000 of locations. So Mazu is becoming a spiritual home for so many people. And this responsibility of our association is to spread Mazu culture to the world and spread Chinese culture to the world. So Mazu's culture stress on the harmony between small family, households, and the whole country, and also the harmony of the world, harmony between mainland China and Taiwan. I know that Mr. Zheng has a lot to say about Mazu culture. And thank you, Mr. Zheng, for your very detailed introduction. And I would like to ask Mr. Zhang, I see there's a moderator on the stage, so who should usually play this role? A very good question. For Mazu ceremony, there are usually 3 moderators. First is the board of directors of Mazu board. And second is leaders from the government or international organizations. So every year, Mazu ceremony is participated by national leaders. As you can see, people are getting ready. Mr. Zheng, I saw some giant drums there. Can you tell us about the drums? Right, the sound of the drums are very important. Ancient Chinese people believe that drums bring harmony. So usually we would hit the drums and gongs 3 times. And usually is the bells first and the drums second, because we are reminding the audience that the ceremony will start soon. And also it can drive away evil spirits. It's believed that. As you can see, how should we address those ladies? So there's the main sacrifice officials and minor officials. So the girls who are stepping into the venue slowly are the sacrifice officials. So this actually can remind us the formalities in the court, because usually in the past, Mazu sacrifice was organized by the court. And Mazu in history was actually protected by 36 courts. And Mazu's status was raised from a civilian to a goddess. So through the 36 courts, actually across Song, Yuan, and Ming dynasties. So all the formalities during the sacrifice are on the national level. So basically, Mazu was a heroine, but was worshipped and protected by the courts. Yes, she was a heroine, but she gained the highest honor possible for a human being. So the ceremony we're watching right now is also considered World Heritage, right? Yes. Right. This is the first ceremony in China that was listed as a World Heritage. Yes, it was recognized by UNESCO. So the oral traditions, the sacrificial ceremony, as well as the folk practices of Mazu are all considered World Heritage. So what we're watching right now actually includes all three: the sacrifice, the oral tradition, as well as folk practices. So we're celebrating the birth of Mazu by dancing, sacrifice, and performances. So we're having a national worship ceremony to remember Mazu. Yes, Mazu died at the age of 28. She was so young, she sacrificed herself for the greater good. And that's why she was worshipped by so many in China and abroad. She was considered a heroine. And she answers to everyone's prayer. And whenever you're in danger, whenever you're in trouble, you can pray for her and she will answer you. It's recorded in many historical records. The music we are hearing is the song for Mazu, right? Yes, it's beautiful. It's made especially for her. So the song aims to invite her to the ceremony. And after the song, what's the next song? We will light the incense. And what else? The incense part is very important. Once you light the incense, the Mazu would know how many worshippers are present. So after lighting the incense, then we have 3 more songs: the Taiping song, the Heping song, and the Xianping song. And eventually we have a song to see her off. So this is the same across the world. In Pingle, we now see so many Mazu worshippers here. I believe Mazu is pleased and it's nice weather. Everyone's happy. You can see the ceremony is full of formalities. The ceremony is quite important. The first bow is a bow to the whole world, pray for world peace, and second is to pray for our nation. Mazu's job is to safeguard the country. And the third bow, like I said, the first one for the world, the second is for the country, the third bow is for the people. So it contains so many good wishes for everyone. Yes. For 1,000 years, that has been passed down from 1,000 years ago, and the same for official sacrifice held by the government or the court. So what's next? The 3 songs and different adequate for each song. Yes, the best is yet to come. The ceremony will start soon. So the sacrifice has so many. Later on, we'll see floral sacrifice. There's different tributes being offered to her. And Mazu actually combines all the folk beliefs and Confucian traditions. So we have absorbed Confucian music, ceremonies, Taoist sacrifice ceremonies, and Buddhist tribute features. So Mazu is actually a combination of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. That makes Mazu belief so special and unique. So the meaning of the lyrics is to praise Mazu. And for example, the floral tribute, and we actually play the song of Haiping. So both the lyrics and the tone, the melodies are only available for Mazu. And through the song, everyone's praying for good fortune for the people and the country. And thank you for watching our live streaming of Mazu sacrificial ceremony.
好的，我给大家介绍一下。今年我们平乐妈祖文化旅游节，它是在5月1号，也就是今天劳动节。
For this year's Pingle Mazu Tourist Festival takes place on May 1st, the Labor Day. And this is the second Mazu Tourist Festival. And this is a great event for Mazu cultural celebrations, World Heritage Exhibition, cultural performances, and Dragon Boat competition. And this year we have many entrepreneurs, travel agencies, thousands of tourists are here in Pingle to experience the Mazu beliefs and pray for peace and prosperity. And we have someone from the local Mazu Association. Mr. Huang? Mazu culture originated from Meizhou, Fujian province, in the beginning of Song Dynasty. In 2009, it was recognized as a World Heritage. So where does it come from? Well, we have to start with Pingle's geographical location. It occupies important strategic location. So the Qingshi Emperor was actually drove many migrants to Pingle, and they all brought their traditions and customs to Pingle. That gave birth to Mazu beliefs. So that's the historical roots of Mazu. Is more than 1,000-year-old, according to the records in the whole Guangxi province. Pingle has the highest number of Mazu temples, 5 Mazu temples. And in Pingle County, we have 5 places that celebrate Mazu. We call it Mazu Temple, or sometimes the god of sea, the goddess of sea temple. And our county wants to promote local tourism, so every year we make May 1st to May the 3rd our cultural and tourist festival with the theme of Mazu sacrifice. So I did some homework, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you can find many relics in Pingle County that's related to Mazu religion. Yes, we have 1 relic and 4 places that are celebrating Mazu on a regular basis. For example, Huashan Temple of Goddess of the Sea. So all those tourist attractions are being protected, right? Yes. In the future, we will make use of those cultural heritage to promote local tourism. So when did this sacrifice ceremony started? Starting from 2006, and our county started the Mazu Cultural Festival since 2018. And the sacrifice is the most important part, and then later on we'll also have some forums, trade and economic activities, food festival. In 2018, we successfully launched the Mazu Cultural Festival, and we have become the first place in Guangxi province to do that. And in 2018, our tourist income and number of tourists doubled in that year. I see that the ceremonies follows certain rules very strictly. Yes, there are several parts. We have many sacrifices in Pingle, and Mazu actually has the strictest ceremony. This year, we also have the Chinese Mazu Association guests visiting us. Yes, the Chinese Mazu Association attaches great importance to us, and last year they sent their president, and this year their executive director participating in our ceremony. And so we are very thankful. Thanks for their support. So can you tell us more about what's happening right now? So this part is called the 3 sacrifices. They are praying for the safety, harmony, and development of this area. So they're reading out the sacrifice article. Yes. And the content is about praying for safety, harmony, and development. So is it the same everywhere? Yes. They're in general the same. Of course, the funeral oration can be different. The oration can be different, or the routes they take can be different. But in general, the formalities are similar. For example, we have celebration on the water, on the ground, and we have 3 Mazu associations. One is for the water part, one is the Huashan Association. So for the water Mazu Association, they are in charge of the ceremony on the water. So how long does it take, the whole process? And what are the major parts? What are the main components? So first you invite Mazu in and you worship her, and then you see her off and pray for safety, pray for her blessing. Now they're reading the oration. So what's the meaning of this part? We're expressing our admiration of Mazu. So it's about talking about our aspiration and wishes for a better life. Right. This is the most popular part of the ceremony. Every year, thousands of people gather around just to watch this part. And this is also the biggest scale, the most popular ceremony in China. And every year, the Chinese Mazu Association would send representatives to give us guidance. After that, we will also play a song to see her off. And there are different routes. One route will be on the water, and then one will be on the ground to go around the Pingle old town. So basically, we are trying to invite Mazu to go around the area to bless all the local residents. Yes, this is about the best wishes and aspiration of local people. So according to folklore, she had great virtues. Thank you, Mr. Huang. And now I would also like to brief our audience who just started watching and a little bit about the history of Pingle Mazu culture. And Pingle Mazu sacrifice actually usually is attended by merchants from the neighboring provinces and fishermen, and also migrants from other provinces. And in Pingle, there are many names for Mazu Temple. There's the temple of the goddess of the sea. We sometimes call her by different names as well, by Taipo, by Tianzu, Queen, by the goddess of the sea. So usually in tradition, is celebrated on the 23rd day of the third month on the Lunar New Year. And June the 7th, 2018, the Mazu sacrifice is made the list of the local heritage. Pingle in history had the most Mazu ceremonies in China. In Fuchuan, Gongcheng, Hezhou County, Xindu County, you can find Mazu temples there. And also Wuzhou town, there are 5 temples, and in Nanning there are 4 temples. In Xunzhou there are 4 as well. And also Guilin, there are 3. In Pingle, throughout the history, was the earliest town to construct Mazu temple. So it was in 1587. Right now there are 2 Mazu temples. The 3 Mazu clubs. So in Pingle town and also the Pingle ancient town, there is an ancient temple of the goddess of the sea. And Huashan Street. Now let's go back to the ceremony. So where we are right now, this is the important part. Now we're trying to give all those orations to Mazu. Earlier, you heard them reading out the oration. Later on, it's the koto part. The highest manners you can have is usually reserved for emperors and the royal family. And now we're doing koto to Mazu. And now we're watching the floral tribute. And it's also common for Buddhist ceremony to give flowers. So now the girls are giving flowers to Mazu. All those sacrifice officials, they're called. Yes, they're all trained. Right now, they hand the flowers to the main moderator, and moderator will give the flowers to Mazu. So every step they take is important, has certain meaning. So every step they take, all the action, all the words have meaning. And also we need to wait until the end of the song. Can you comment a little bit more on their costumes? So they need to have very steady steps. Their behavior needs to be up to standard. Every detail counts. See, they're taking their time very slowly. When they turn, it's also very careful. And they need to watch out for the melodies and the rhythm of the song. Well, what about the flower? Is there any requirement for the flower? And how many flowers? Yes, there are certain requirements. It has to be fresh, local flowers, the best flowers we can find locally. And make sure the flowers are of good quality. And usually the flowers need to be in even number for auspicious reason. And next is the second tribute. Yes, among all those tributes, there's first tribute, there's second tribute. The second tribute is apples. And the song is called Taiping. The song prays for safety. And the tributes are apples. Apple represent beauty, auspicion, safety. What about the numbers of the officials? Yes, there's also a requirement for that. So you'll see 4 kinds of costumes. Costume for the moderators. It has to be of sharp color and make them stand out so everyone can see that they're main moderators. The second is the minor moderator. And the third kind of costume is worn by the sacrifice officials. You can see the white and gold one and also the blue and gold one. All those costumes are unique to Mazu ceremonies. So now is giving the apples. So apple represents safety. We now are seeing 3, what do you call them? The officials? Right, we have several major moderators, secondary moderators, and also the 3 ceremonial officials. It's quite hard. You have to bring out your best performance. Make sure you don't drop any apple. Have to be very steady, slow. It takes certain training to give such a good performance. Can you introduce the 3 moderators for us? For example, the president of the Pingle Mazu Association. So in the Pingle Old Town, there's a Mazu temple. And there's another Lunji Mazu temple, also very famous, very old. The 3rd temple is called Huashan Temple. So the 3 moderators represents these 3 temples. And they also represent the local worshippers of Mazu. What about the next part? So we have to wait until the end of the song. After the second song, we'll go into the next part. There's another tribute. Now they're giving out silk as tribute. And this kind of tribute is only available to the highest level of gods. So we actually are very selective in terms of what tributes to give to Mazu.
场。我们现场的话，由一位队主祭人和司仪生还有陪祭人，这样的一个队伍组成。来，我们郑老师
So right now we have one
哪些传统
major moderator and several minor moderator. And can you also tell the audience again the costumes and the colors? Right. For ritual, we have to follow the formalities closely. So you can see the costumes. There are 4 kinds of costumes, each with their own meaning. There's different costume for the main moderator and the minor moderator, for the officials, and for those who play the drums and gongs, there are different costumes for them. And for those who hold weapons on the outer ring, different costumes carries a different meaning in Mazu culture. Red represents safety, gold represents royalty, and blue represents ocean. Mazu is a goddess of the sea. Now, kowtowing to Mazu. So those are in blue. What should we call them? Yes. So you can see the kowtow has certain steps. The purpose of kowtowing is to get blessing from Mazu, and you can see they turn their palms, the palms up right now. So the highest respect you can pay to someone is 3 kneeling down and 9 kowtow. It's usually for the emperor of the jade god, and you cannot do this to lower level of gods. And as you can see, they're doing the highest one, the 3 kneeling and 9 kowtow. So this is only reserved for the emperor of the jade, the Mazu goddess, and also the emperor. Like I mentioned earlier, Mazu sacrificial ceremonies are usually held by the central government, by the court. I can see most worshippers today are mostly the elderly. There any age requirement? Yes. So this is a performance. It's also a form of art. This heritage belongs to the world. So we have to make sure everything is up to the highest standard and can serve as example for the rest of the world. We want to showcase the benevolence, love, and virtues of Mazu. So Mazu is very popular among people from all trades and of all ages. What's this move called? Right now, they will burn the silk and burn the oration written on the silk. So we have written down all of our aspirations and wishes and prayers on the silk. And now, once we burn the silk, Mazu will receive it. So every year, is there any timing requirement for the ceremony? You're quite right. Usually it's in spring and autumn during the rainy season and started from the reign of Kangxi Emperor. It's usually on the third month, on the 23rd day of the third month of the lunar calendar. So usually it's before or after that day. Usually it's in spring, today's in spring. Another season for the sacrifice is the fall. Usually it's the 9th day of the 9th month on the Lunar New Year, on the lunar calendar. Like I said before, Mazu sacrifice are usually held by the national government. It's also participated by many provincial and local government officials. Or sometimes during major festivals such as Lunar New Year, we would worship Mazu. And once there are some major events locally, we will also worship Mazu, smaller ones. But usually the ceremony is quite simple, not as large as this one. And usually very simple ones. Okay, now the silk is burned. Now you can hear the sound changed. This is singing Mazu off song. So the 3 tributes part are coming to an end. Yes. So Mazu touring around will take different routes. This is a national ceremony. Yesterday was raining and today is such a good weather. I think that's because of Mazu's blessing. I wish everyone happy and thank Mazu for answering our prayers. And thank you for explaining to our audience each step of the ceremony, the meaning, the history. Now the ceremony is coming to an end, and the next part for the sacrifice is to tour Mazu around. Mazu will travel on the water and then come back to the port, come back to the ground, and she will tour around the ancient town. So people believe that she will bring peace and safety and blessings to everyone around. And we'll continue to follow the whole event. So that's about it.